Persona 3 Reload is officially set to launch onto PlayStation, Xbox, and PC consoles on February 2nd of next year. And today I wanted to go over pretty much all the confirmed brand new features that we can expect for this brand new remake of a pretty much classic game that a lot of Persona fans will on the low-key admit that is most likely the best Persona game we ever had. Now do keep in mind that there were two separate versions of the original Persona 3, of course the original one on the PlayStation 2, then Persona 3 FES, which ended up launching as a portable handheld experience with some original changes. A lot of those changes from the FES version simply will not be making their way onto Persona 3 Reload. They're essentially considering this to be a remake of the original PlayStation 2 console experience, and ultimately that's been a little bit of a divisive thing to talk about, since a lot of players not only of course wants the female protagonist to be added there as well, but also the additional social links that came alongside that with the FES version as well, and none of those seemingly will be making their way into the Reload release. However, not all is lost. A lot of brand new changes as of recently through the Sega and Atlas West specifically blog updates have begun to kind of slowly reveal some of that new information that we were expecting to see, because a lot of players were ultimately wondering, well, if this doesn't really have the new features from FES, well, what does it really have that we would really want other than a brand new coat of paint? And thankfully, we have a more specific answer this time around. First and foremost, a lot of players were kind of hoping for more than just a visual upgrade, but of course, the visual upgrade is there. Brand new render features have been showcased, of course, especially during cutscenes. A lot of the visual style and the traditional look of the original Persona 3 has been, remains and still there. But the actual brand new rendering options in 3D are doing a lot of work, especially during the cutscenes. So I'm a big fan of that, but of course, it's not just the looks themselves. Performance looks to be pretty much another step above what we expected there. And do keep in mind that there is no Nintendo Switch version for this game, so 30 FPS seems to be out of the realm of possibility, at the very least for those players who are hoping for that to happen. Although of course ever eternal Nintendo Switch 2 rumors do seem to suggest that presumably Atlas might have a launch version of Persona 3 Reload for the next Nintendo console. When it comes to combat though, whenever you knock down an enemy, you can now switch to another party member to exploit a different weakness. This is an option that simply wasn't available originally in either of the two original games, which basically allows you to knock down a whole group of enemies for an all-out attack. This makes this a whole heck of a lot easier for you to get the upper hand, especially when you're playing in those higher difficulty options. Another one of the things that they confirmed is that Personas will allow level up a little bit faster than they did before. I don't know if this was something of a game design option, but it seems like Personas and some of the abilities that they might actually get early on, since you are adopting, of course, abilities and skills from whenever you merge one with another. Some of those options will be tweaked a little bit, so not only will they retain some of those skills a little bit easier, or more options will be retainable by some Personas, but also if they are to learn a specific skill or trait based on a level, because you're leveling up a little bit faster, you're going to be able to get those more powerful skills a little bit sooner. Another quality of life improvements is that the map is a little bit easier to understand as a 3D rendered map, and battles are essentially a little bit faster paced to make up for that as well. For example, they mentioned that whenever you open up a chest, it will make all of the enemies surrounding you disappear. So whenever you are ready to turn around after you picked up your brand new rewards and brand new goodies, you won't have to turn around to an instant battle ready to meet you, but instead monsters will just respawn again naturally, as if like the kind of like world times out for a second as you're opening up that chest, which is a nice improvement. But that's just a handful of little smaller updates when it comes to combat, because when it comes to story changes, they do specifically mention that characters like Shinji and Ken will have bigger side stories specifically connected to their social links. So this is not going to be a one-to-one experience like you played it in the original PlayStation 2 game. In fact, some of the characters that a lot of players kind of thought were, they played their role and then they just became a little bit of fodder characters, will become a little bit more interconnected when it comes to story. It will be interesting to see just what kind of side stories they add to Shinji due to, of course, spoiler purposes. I don't want to get into that if you haven't played it, but it will be interesting to see just what kind of role of story extra content they end up adding for Shinji specifically due to what happens in the game. Obviously, other expected changes that players would more than likely welcome, and they have been confirmed, is the fact that you can now give direct control of your other party members in any one of the battle engagements like FES did. Remember, the original did not, for whatever reason, did not have that, and then the mobile version or handheld version with FES did end up giving you full control of your party, and that is something that we're going to be able to have here with Reload. When it comes to Tartarus, which is of course the big dungeon that you're exploring, the ever-expanding tower, they did specifically mention that new structures and new different floor options will become available. So they are reworking the way that map will actually work. One of the biggest criticisms that I remember specifically when the game was kind of like being re-released, Persona 3 FES was being re-released, I believe it was last year or something like that, for like new consoles, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC and Nintendo Switch. A lot of people were complaining about Tartarus just being very samey, pretty much the same thing, and which is true. It's a true and fair statement, but that's probably why they are going to be reworking some of those options there and making it a little more varied as you progress along. It's also worth mentioning, but it's something that you should probably have seen in the trailers already. A brand new voiceover cast has been brought over into it. I've seen a lot of divisive takes on it, but ultimately I'm all over the fact that, new voices are going to be added in, of course, new voice lines and all of that. That just makes things a little bit better. The original game probably didn't have a lot of voice acting. I don't quite remember how much voice acting it had, but I'm going to say it was limited, and I'm just glad to see that they are reworking that. And it is worth mentioning that they are going to do like 13 different languages for the game. So ultimately, if you don't necessarily speak English, or you want to play the Japanese version, or you want to play the Spanish version, whatever version you want to play, most likely all of those will be voice acted as well. And that is a massive addition as well. So, that's really nice to see. And it seems like Atlas is figuring out that this game could be a potential big hit for them if they get it right. But that's about all the information that I have for you guys today regarding just some of the new features that Persona 3 Reload will have when it launches officially onto PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, and on PC on February 2nd of next year. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya!